Hello and welcome to Tantrum House Studio Awesome. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Katie, and in this overview video, we're going to give you a quick rundown of Kingdom Come Deliverance by Boardcubator.
Kingdom Come Deliverance is an app-driven miniatures game of deceit, intrigue, and exploration for 1 to 4 players. The game is set in 1421 in the Holy Roman Empire during the Hussite War.
In this game, each player is going to take on a character that's assigned to investigate Huss followers and then report back to the Catholic Church.
All of the game components we will show you are prototypes and will most likely be different for the final game. Also, we only have the components for the demo because apparently there's a lot more coming.
In Kingdom Come Deliverance, each character has different starting stats, abilities, and items. Players are going to get a choice of starting attribute dice that will help your character as they deal with situations that arise during the game. Included on the player sheet is a suspicion tracker, and each time you do something sus, the NPCs are going to have a higher chance of noticing that you're up to something. The characters are just common people and not heroes, so you must be careful of who you trust and who you attack in this game.
There are many ways to gain experience to upgrade what your character can do with perk points. The game will award you these points as you do different actions, and they can be traded in for your choice of perk cards or to increase an attribute. Perk cards can give you flexibility in die rolls or unlock new actions, and increasing attributes will give you better colored dice to use in skill and combat checks. Items are also gained during the game and can help you as you continue your mission. Items are slotted according to the card description, and each equipped slot can only hold 1 item unless you have a single-handed item.
Skill checks will happen as you interact with the game. You will be rolling any attribute dice that you have along with generic dice to bring your total to 6 dice. Success is much more likely the more of the attribute dice you have.
On your turn, a player can move, interact with a token or NPC, or assist another player with a skill check for 1 action point each. There are other actions that may become available to you as you gain more experience, such as using alchemy or backstabbing. Each player has 3 action points per round, and these can be used in any order with the other players. There are some free actions as well, like becoming stealthy or saving an action point for the next round. After everyone has used all their action points, then you have a player refresh that gives back 3 action points, all stamina, and might reset your suspicion if you aren't on a map tile with hostile NPCs.
Hostile NPCs are designated with different colored bases so that you can see how hostile or alert they are at a glance. If you enter a map tile with one of these NPCs, you have to perform a suspicion check by rolling a matching colored dice for them and then seeing if it matches how sus you have been, comparing that to your suspicion track. This can lead to a confrontation. Sometimes you might be able to talk your way out of it, and others could end up in a fight.
Combat in this game is dice rolling, just like with other skill checks. You may have perks that will let you re-roll, or weapons that can help. The fight might last a few rounds, where you each try to attack the other, or they might disengage after a couple hits. The app will ask you about your dice roll successes, and then will let you know how many hits you took. Hits lower your vitality, and once you reach 0, your character dies.
The app that drives this game is basically a GM or a DM for the game. It's going to tell you which map tiles to lay down, a description of what's happening at each location, along with keeping up with the opponent's health and movement, etc. As characters discover new map tiles, the app will tell you about the actions that you can do there, and then it will have you lay down tokens to represent those.
Something to keep in mind is that this is a living world, which means that the game might interrupt and let you know something is happening in a certain spot on the map. If your character is there, they may be facing something they aren't prepared for. Guards move to patrol different map tiles. People have a conversation, or something might catch fire. The world in the app keeps moving even as you use action points. Scenarios are won when completed successfully, and lost if one character dies or if certain parts of the scenario are not met.
So this game, with its app, has what feels like a really immersive experience. There's a lot of voice acting. This is just the demo app that we were using too. Not even their real, like, when they're going to put out with the game. But there was some neat voice acting. There was music and sounds that went with everything else. A little word of warning if you're thinking of playing with young players is that there is some strong language, at least there was in the demo, along with some really gristly scene descriptions, because this is kind of the Middle Ages and it was rough living back then and the middle of a war. So
yeah, the app seems to be designed so that you can easily see what the quest is you're currently working on, what actions are available at different locations, and also if you want to see the story, it looks like it's pretty easy to go up further in what's already happened to review, so you aren't like, where am I, what am I doing?
Yes. There's the interesting part of this game is the fact that it's a living world, so it does feel like playing like an RPG type game, because your GM / the app interrupts you and is like, all right, fight just broke out over here. If you're in that area, you're gonna have to deal with it. And if you're not in that area, then somebody important to the story may die if you don't get there fast. So that's interesting, because that really makes your choices of using your action points really important, because we were just playing in the beginning that Ryan was using all of his action points, and then I would use all my action points like a normal turn base. But we found out that was a problem, because I kept going into an area where there was a patrol that would suddenly pop up, and I was having to make all of these suspicion checks, and I finally was like, we're gonna have to let me take a turn with an action point real fast so I can get out of here. So that it's just interesting that the world continues moving as you're playing through it.
Players of video game RPGs where you advance certain attributes based on actually the use of that attribute will find a familiar mechanic in this game, because you only get perk points when you've completed an action that relates to that. So if you do a strength-based action, you'll get a strength-based perk point. And then with those perk points, you have to weigh, am I going to spend this right away? Because you can buy a perk card only spending 1 perk point. But the cards are limited by what your current attribute value is. Mm-hmm. Or you can save up your perk points to try to up your attribute, but every additional value level of the attribute costs that many more perk points to do. So you gotta weigh, do I get the immediate benefit, or do I invest in trying to get those better dice to make the checks easier in a different way?
Yeah, so that is a neat part of advancing your character skill, and I do really appreciate only getting skill points for things you've actually spent time doing in the game. That's kind of a qualm that I have with some other games where you can just assign skill points. You've gotten a certain amount of skill points, now you just assign them wherever you want. I'm like, that's not how real life works.
It definitely seems to help with the immersive story value of it.
Yes. So if this game sounds of interest to you, please check it out on Gamefound. It'll be coming soon. Again, this was Kingdom Come Deliverance. And go ahead and click subscribe if you're interested in seeing more board gaming content like this.